A strong start. Have you had a morning that was not particularly welcoming or productive, or even frustrating, or even infuriating? Well, today we're going to talk about how to have a strong start that could lead the way to a very productive day and getting you closer to achieving your goals. And parents, there's tips for you on how to get your students together as well. Okay, tune in. Hi, thank you so much for joining the Falling for Learning podcast. I am TD Flenaugh. We have this podcast to help parents and caregivers with having the resources, strategies, and tools needed to make sure that their children are on track for learning and to stay on track for success. Okay, today we have a special guest. It is a National Board Certified teacher, Lauren Moseley, who has been teaching kids across the United States for at least 2 decades. And she's going to bring her expertise about how to have a welcoming, wonderful, productive, strong start. So, welcome, Miss Moseley.
Woohoo! Hello. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. This is the 100th episode. Am I right?
100. Ping, 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 ping. I don't have any sound effects, but it is episode 100.
That's amazing. Well, I am so proud of you and so grateful for all the work that you're doing and the way that you have transformed this space into a place where parents can come and get some tips. And I just love hearing all your podcasts and all the things that you're doing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into this.
Thank you so much. When I heard about your strong start, I really wanted to know more about, what that means, what it looks like, how you developed it over time. But before we get into those details, I always ask my guests what helped them fall in love with learning.
Wow, that's a great question. I'm going to say it was probably being, as a little girl, having that freedom to explore. And my parents, I grew up in the 70s. I'm aging myself here. But, it was a time where you were kind of left to go outside and play and don't come back in the house until the streetlights come on. And just having that freedom to be out and explore. I mean, I loved nature. I loved animals and insects, and I was always digging for worms and collecting flowers, insects. And I was curious. I was such a curious child. So I think my love for learning really started with just an abundance of curiosity and a need to open up things like, just try to find out how my jewelry box worked, the little ballerina that spun on top.
Yes.
And how did
Wait a minute,
that little...
so you took it apart or what?
Yeah, so I would take things apart and I would, what's inside of this? And so, I also loved books and I loved reading. I wasn't a great reader, but I loved like looking at the encyclopedia and looking at all the pictures. We had like the set of the Britannica encyclopedias back in the day, and just even flipping through and looking at the pictures I was awe-inspired.
So tell me, what do you mean you weren't a great reader? Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I know I wasn't a great reader. I didn't realize I wasn't a great reader until I started school. Because prior to that, the first book that I could ever read was Green Eggs and Ham, I believe. I remember my mom asking me to read that book. I want to say it may not have been Green Eggs and Ham. It may have been some Dr. Seuss book from back in the day. I'm saying Green Eggs and Ham, but it may not have been that. It was something. It may have been Dick and Jane book. I don't know, but something that my mom would have me, she'd be on the phone with her girlfriends and like, oh my gosh, Lauren's reading. Here, come here, come read, come read to your aunt or come read to your grandmother. And so before she got off the phone, I always had to, flip through a few pages and read a little bit because she was so excited. But when I went to school, I was in the Redbird group.
Okay, hold on
You
one
got
second. You were saying that you weren't a great reader before you got into school, like before kindergarten or before that. Are you talking about pre-kindergarten or are you talking about kindergarten?
I'm saying when I started school, probably kindergarten, I could read. I could read a little bit. But once I got in school, I felt like I was in the group of kids who were not the great readers.
I see.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like you have the red group, I think it was birds. It's like red bird group and the yellow bird group and the green bird group. I was in the red bird group. So I knew all those.
Attention.
Right. And we were at the small table doing the intervention kind of stuff.
Okay.
It wasn't called intervention, but it was definitely the red bird group. And yes. I remember it felt like perhaps I wasn't the best reader, but I love books. So I eventually graduated out of the Redbird group. And maybe by second grade, and I remember third grade, I really was feeling a lot more confident and felt like a reader by third grade. But first, kinder, first, second, I think I was on the struggle. I was on the struggle list. Okay. Yeah.
But the exploration kept you drawn to learning.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think always wanting to know more kept me not shut down by the fact that I probably wasn't the best reader. My mom would read to me. The first book she ever read to me was Justin Morgan Had a Horse. And after that, all I wanted was a horse. And every time there was an opportunity to get a gift, for whether it was Christmas or my birthday or Easter, hey, could I get a horse? Because Justin Morgan has one and I would really like a horse. So yeah, so there are things, childhood memories that stand out around literacy, around, going to museums and going to ballet, different things with the arts. And I know my childhood was very rich with experiences that kept me curious. And I think that was the thing that even though I wasn't a great student necessarily, grade-wise, it may have had something to do with the amount of talking I did as well. I was very, very communicative as a little one. I still have my report cards because my mom does not throw away anything. Right. I have report cards that it's the proof of Lauren talks too much.
I see.
The conduct wasn't awesome. But again, I did love learning and I still do.
Okay. Yeah. And so what about tell us about your education, your college level education, high school level education, like those activities that lead to what you do now.
Okay. Yeah. So I went to Southwest Texas State University and I was a criminal justice, was psychology major, criminal justice minor. And I wanted to be Clarice from Silence of the Lambs. I wanted to go into the field of criminal psychology. And after one of my classes, we had some inmates come in and talk to us about their journey through the justice system. And it was so depressing. It was so sad. The resonating theme of all of these inmates that came in to speak to us was that they did not have people who believed in them when they were kids. They didn't have teachers that believed in them. And they didn't have a very stable home life. Yikes. And I remember thinking, wow, what a difference teachers make. Right. What a difference a good teacher can make. Yes. So I was also a member of, or still am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Okay. And we had a tutorial program after school and we partnered with a local church and it was only supposed to be for like maybe a couple of months or a semester or something like that. But I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed tutoring the kids and being with the little ones. And Yeah, so that was something that was really, it was one of those moments where I felt like, I think this is what I want to do in life. I think I want to be with the little kids. I want to teach them. I want to inspire them to be curious, like I was when I was a little kid. So even though I graduated with criminal justice and psychology degree, I started thinking about getting a teaching credential after college. And I felt like if I can't help, helping people once they've already gone into the justice system or the criminal justice system,
Yeah.
it's after the fact. What if I
Yeah.
was an amazing teacher? And what if I was that person that could inspire and be the safe place and be the
Yeah.
one that helped a kid read so that they could have some opportunities and some, a foundation when they got older. So after that, I was like, yeah, it's funny. I told my mom and my dad, because they're both educators too. And
Right.
when I was in college, they talked to me about being a teacher. I'm like, I don't want to be a teacher. They don't make any money. And I remember calling my mom and saying, you know what? I think you're right. I think I need to do what I love. Because my mom will do what you love. I can't always be about the money. You got to do what makes you happy.
Absolutely.
And I remember saying, Mom, I think this makes me happy. I really think I want to do this. This is the thing. When I think about kids and think about being in their lives, I actually get excited.
Yeah.
Whereas, working in the criminal justice system it was depressing, to be honest. It was like, oh my gosh, what do we do?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is, yeah, that's part of the journey. I went on to get a master's in curriculum and instruction, and felt like I was still hitting some walls in terms of my own growth and development, and just felt like I still, because I want to learn something. I want to learn, how can I be a better teacher?
Yeah.
And that's when I heard about National Board. So I thought, ooh, this sounds like a challenge. Was, as you know, way harder than my master's. Way harder.
So those of you who don't know, a national board certification is an advanced certification for teachers. It is, it has some weight all across the nation. If you're relocating, your national board certification pretty much follows you. You're able to be certified. There's maybe a little bit you have to do, but pretty much you're certified. It's an advanced certification, and there are many things that we have to do to show that we have the expertise, right, of an accomplished teacher. So
Yeah.
Miss Lauren Moseley is a national board certified teacher, and that's how I met her in the process, so in the renewal process. So she was one of my instructors, facilitators as I was renewing my certification. So yes. So
Yeah.
tell us about your journey for national board certification.
Oh boy. Wow. That might take a couple of podcasts. It took me 5 years to certify, and not because, well, let me just start from the beginning. I thought the certification process was me proving that I was an accomplished teacher. And what I realized through the process is it was actually about me becoming more accomplished and learning. And so there was a great deal of learning and reflection that was going on, because when I got my teaching credential, I was part of the emergency credential program.
Yes.
Remember that? We
Yes,
are
I do.
in a state of emergency. They would grab anyone who had a heartbeat and stick them in front of some children
If
and
you have a
say, please.
degree in a heartbeat, yes.
That's all you needed. So I literally was learning on the job and had no language for what it was that I was doing. I just did the thing, and the kids did some learning, and we had ice cream and cake at the end of the school year to celebrate, and it was over. And then I did it again the next year. Like, I didn't have language for, instructional strategies or scaffolding. I just didn't know what to call it, but I was doing it.
Yeah.
So when I went through the process, I guess my writing, how I wrote about my experiences, wasn't clear. And that's a big part of National Board, is making sure you're clear, that your writing is concise, and that it's very convincing. And there's lots of questions to answer, and you have to interpret the questions and interpret the language.
Yes.
And yeah, so it took me a long time. And then, of course, we had the pandemic. And in that kind of slowed things down because we went to online learning. And there was some extensions because lots of people were trying to pivot and figure out like how to adjust to this new reality.
Yes.
So I had a year added on to the already 4 years. And it doesn't take it. You don't have to do it in 4 years, as you know. That was just my pacing. So after the extension and being able to go through the process during the pandemic, it actually was really great because I did a lot of reflecting during the pandemic. And I think it was the shutdown of the world. There's really nothing else to do but to work on my show. It was the deep reflection and like soul searching reflection in terms of like, how do I help my kids in this new environment where we are all on a screen?
Right.
So that kind of was the catalyst, I think, for me finally getting to the place where I could talk about all the different things and have all the language. And I think the most amazing part of the whole National Board experience was the year that I submitted was also the year that I got, I was given the Teacher of the Year award.
Nice.
And yeah, it was kind of like a full circle moment for me because it was like the hardest year. It was the hard, you know, teaching during the pandemic was hard for every educator. And it was the times when I felt like I'm not doing enough they're not going to be ready like they would if we were in our classrooms. But it was something about my ability to support my kids emotionally. And, you know, as you know, we are teaching and parents are sometimes in the same room, especially the teachers who work from home. Yeah. And so they're hearing everything. And it was actually my parents that nominated me for Teacher of the Year.
Wonderful.
And one of my parents was actually a principal. So he would record me teaching and then take it to his staff and say, hey, I need you guys to do this.
Did
this
you
is
know
my
he was doing that?
I didn't know until after
He's
the
breaking
fact.
the law, and that's how
breaking
you
the
made
law.
it. It's an outlaw.
Right. So yeah, I'm like, are you supposed to be doing that? But I think the point he was trying to make was, you know, he would just catch me doing things with his son that he felt like were, you know, was helping his son to get excited about coming to online class. Yeah. And he said, you know, he would wake up in the morning and his son would already be logged on, ready to go, and he wouldn't have to even do anything. He was there waiting for me. He's like sitting in the front of the screen waiting for me to log on. So I mean, just little
amazing.
Yeah. So it was the hardest thing. I think I cried every day. Oh my goodness. For several months. I think I cried every day going, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? You know, how is the world going to produce kids who can, you know, survive if we can't be there with them? But we found a way to make it work. We did, and that kind of goes into, you know, talking about Strong Start and just the social emotional part of learning that is so important.
Okay, and I think hold there. We're gonna have a short break, and we'll find out about the Strong Start.
Yes, let's.
The Rewrite Method and the Rewrite Method Workbook are your go-to resource for helping kids to learn to fall in love with writing. It has the tips, tools, resources, strategies, and skill-building activities to help kids fall out of writing hate and into loving to write. Get your book set today.
Okay, we are back with Lauren Moseley, and we're going to find out about the Strong Start program. Go ahead, tell us more.
Okay, so Strong Start is a part of our whole child model for social emotional learning. And I can't say that I developed it. I think I'm really good at implementing it and connecting the pieces of all of this. The totality of the program is a lot of different things. But the part that I think really helps my kids is the what we do first thing in the morning. So Strong Start, I like to quote our counselor. She says, "We don't just have a great day; we make it a great day." And part of it is the intentionality of giving kids the tools to define how they're going to go about the rest of their day. So that's why we call it Strong Start, because we want to start the day strong. We have the beginning thing. The first thing we do is a morning greeting. So as soon as the kids cross the threshold, they get to choose their greeting, either a high five or a hug. And I know a lot of educators do that. But that's a part of the Strong Start, making sure that everyone gets a hug, that I look at each child in the face and greet them as they come in and let them know how grateful I am that they're there. Yeah. The next thing we do once they get settled in is we come to the carpet and we have like a little morning meeting. And part of it is we set our goals for the day. So in the very beginning, we had very simple goals like, hey, I'm going to try my best. I'm going to have listening ears. I'm going to follow directions. I'm going to share my thoughts, like 4 simple goals. And the kids would talk about the goals and what that's going to look like for them. And at the end of the day, we revisit and we say, okay, how'd it go? Did you share a thought today? Do you feel like you did a great job following directions? And it's pretty amazing when you give kids language and you give them a goal that over time, I have first graders. So, this is several months of repeating these same goals. Okay. But over time, you really do see them start to use the language of, hey, you know what, this is really hard, but I'm trying my best because that was my goal today. And having them be very intentional about what they're doing. So goal setting, we have purposeful partnering, where they do a small, quick, little short, like 2-3 minute activity where they'll have a discussion with their partner. Like today's prompt was pick 4 things that are different and 4 things that are the same between you and your partner. Go. And then they just chat. And there's laughing and giggling and silliness, and it's a lot of fun. And then you ring the bell, and then the next part of Strong Start is some kind of community building activity. And again, they're always fun. They're usually involve some kind of movement. Today we sang the song from the movie Sing, I'm Still Standing. So everyone got up and the lyrics are at the bottom. And by now they all know the lyrics. So they're jumping around singing, I'm still standing. Again, lots of fun, lots of energy. And then the last thing we do is called Sending Love. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We do breathe and focus. So we do a little breath work where we'll use a video to smell the flower and blow out the candle. So that kind of brings us down because we've been jumping around, and then that brings us back down. So they're really good at picking their breathe and focus activities, and they always have ones to choose from because by this time of the year they have like 12 breathe and focus exercises they can do. And then the last thing we do is called Sending Love, and it's our affirmation for self affirmation, and then an affirmation for someone that they are sending love to. So like a kid might say, I want to send love to my mom. She's got a cold and she wasn't feeling good this morning, and she was really grumpy and not feeling good, and she kind of yelled at us. But I'm going to send my kid. I'm going to send my mom love. So that's what my kids are saying about their. So it's a good thing too, because you also get kind of like a peek behind the veil of their lives. Like you kind of see what's going on in the background of their lives. And then we do our affirmation. It's just a poem that they say, and they all know by heart now. So it's really cool to hear them say it. And then that's it. And then we start our day. Takes about maybe 15, 20 minutes at the most. And I tell you, there are days when I've been tempted to skip it, and they always go, what? we're not doing strong start today. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right.
Okay, so I
So they,
remember you told me that you had one goal. I mean, there's lots of goals, but a good overarching goal for Strong Start. Do you remember what you told me? Is that they were supposed to all laugh, right?
yes, all laugh. It has to bring joy. They all have to at some point laugh and just have like that it's gonna be a good day. Because if you start the day laughing, if you start the day happy,
Yeah,
that's a win. Because some of the kids, we don't know what happened before they got
you're
to my
right.
door, but some of them are sad. Some of them,
Yes.
you can tell they just woke up and hair is, drool and like, you didn't wash your face, huh? Oh, you slept in that shirt. Like there was a rush, you can tell. And,
Yes.
you know, it's my job to set the tone for how the day is going to be. So I have to get them happy. I can't control what happened in their life and what happened before they got to me, but I can, for that window of time, um, help them to get over it a little bit so that we can move on with the day.
So can
So
you tell us, like, how many students would you say you feel like when you see them in the morning, they're affected by whatever happened before they got there, like negatively?
I would say every kid at some point has had a bad morning.
Okay.
And
But
I say it's everyone at some point has had a bad morning.
yes.
Period. They are 6 years old, and at some point mom or dad or someone had to get on them the night before or in the morning, or they were even if it's just they were late.
Yeah.
Being late for some kids can be really upsetting.
Yeah.
They maybe nothing personal, but mom was just rushing and they woke up late. Just that quick, go, 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 and they got to school late and they're walking in late.
Yeah.
That can be, the whole day is going to be shot if you don't do something to help turn that around.
So
But
what
yeah, I would say tips
sorry,
for
go ahead.
parents.
Well, yeah, like
No.
what in the morning, like before, like there are those days, but is there something that they could do to help with their kids coming into the school? Because we know that they're affected negatively
Yeah.
if it's a big argument or something like that in the morning.
Mhm. Yeah, I would say, and people are human, and parents are, I'm sure, are doing the best that they can. And I really love my parents, and I bet it's a scary place sometimes for a parent to come to school and have to sit in front of the teacher and the teacher say, "Hey, let's talk about Johnny." So I'm really gentle with my parents in that way because I know that there's a lot of responsibility that they have for their child. And I know that every parent thinks their child is a reflection of them, which, yes.
Yes.
And we have to remember that kids are their own individuals. And so they do
Yes.
come with a unique set of characteristics. Having said all that, I think if parents could do a better job being mindful that how you prepare in the morning starts at night, starts the night before.
Mm.
So being organized, making sure you have all the things ready the night before kind of helps for a better transition in the morning. Um, Making sure that you say as a parent that you believe in your kids,
Yeah.
that you believe that they're going speak words of just affirmation into their lives every morning. Again, going back to those classes I took in college, I think that was the thing that those guys that were in prison serving very long terms said that, hey, I didn't have anyone who believed in me. So I think just telling your kids that you believe in them, hey, I know you're going to do great today. I believe in you. You are smart. Just positive, affirming words, I think are so, so important. Yeah, I think and my kids do tell me everything. Little kids tell us everything. But I think one of the things I hear a lot from my kids is that, they really know when parents are stressed. So when we get to that sending love, they'll say, "I'd like to send love to my dad because he was, he's not doing well. Maybe he didn't get his new job yet, and he's still waiting to start his work, and he hasn't started yet, and he's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
My mom works really, really hard, and she's tired a lot. Those are the things so they know, they feed off that energy, and they know. So just realize that how you, the gift that you can give your kid is to allow them to be kids. And if we can not burden them with the worries of adulthood, if we can protect them from the worries of adulthood, that would be nice. And just know that they are trying their best. I think kids come to school every day, and I don't think they intentionally say, "Let's see how I can, not
Irritate
do my best."
mom.
Right. I can irritate my mom and dad or irritate my teacher. That's not their hearts. I really believe in kids in that way. So yeah, did I answer the question?
You did
Yeah.
answer like what parents can be mindful of, because they don't always, obviously they've dropped their child off. They don't know what it looks like when they're inside of the room,
Mhm.
and they may be in an environment where they don't have a strong start, right? Obviously, you're bringing that to share with people. So it's something that they need to be mindful of and think about, like, how does that affect their kid? Like, as a mom, I've definitely done it. I know I've argued at my daughter, and then like, go in that class, do what you're supposed. And it's like, I would get calls like, she had a rough day, like, you have to always be reflective of that. Like, obviously, you help set that in motion, right? Not
Yeah.
intentionally, but and you could even save it for like after you get home today. At least I could talk to you about it this evening, rather than like, let's talk about it now on the way to school or whatever it is. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I'll tell you, teachers are the same way. Like, we have to also make sure that we are in the best mental space
yes,
when we're dealing with kids, because I don't want to bring my baggage into the classroom and
absolutely.
let that impact how I teach and how I address my kids. So, I think that's one of the reasons I started really thinking about SEL even way before the pandemic. It was because I was trying to deal with my own stress and my own needing to breathe deeper. You know,
Yes.
my
Mm-hmm.
chiropractor was like, "You breathe really shallow." I'm like, he says, "You don't know how to breathe." I'm like, "Of course I know how to breathe." So I had to learn how to smell the flower and blow out the candle. Like,
Yeah.
those strategies that aren't just for kids, they're for everyone. And I think even I remember when we were online learning, we had this thing, this meditation called Be the Pond. And it was from one of the Zen YouTube videos. And I remember this kid says, I have all these fish swimming around me, the angry fish, the happy fish, the sad fish, but
Right.
I'm not any of those fish. I am the pond. And I was like, yeah, that's right.
Wow.
And one of the moms one day said to me, yeah, my kid, I was stressing out about something. And this little girl tells her mom, you just need to be the pond. So even the things
It's
that we're learning in class,
transferring. Yes.
it's they're using it to help their parents out, which honestly, I think that's a really powerful thing. So educators, we're not only transforming our students, we could be potentially impacting whole families,
Absolutely.
So,
All
yes.
right. So, before you leave us, is there anything else you want to leave us with, or advice for parents and educators out there? We have, parents and educators, homeschooling
Yeah.
parents, parents who also, obviously send their children to school. Anything that you, final takeaways for us?
I think I would say to parents, especially just reflecting on the way that education is changing and evolving. A lot of the ways that I learned is not how kids are learning today. And just to be mindful that, kids are learning and they're on devices a lot throughout the day. And I think more than anything, kids need to be physically engaged and moving and active and outdoors if possible, as much as possible, just because I think they're inside so long, in front of a device for a good part of the day, uh, even the little ones. So I've even gotten to the point where I very rarely give homework. And I tell my kids at the end of the day, go home and go outside and go play. So parents, help your kids find that time to be outdoors and to run and play and get on their bikes and get that energy, get that blood flowing, get some fresh air. And parents, don't be too hard on yourself, because we're all, the whole community that's around your kids, we're all growing and changing. We're all learning.
Yeah.
So, and I always like parents to believe, in educators too, that it's a partnership. So don't be afraid to engage with your child's teacher, and it should be a regular, ongoing activity that you are intentionally contacting your child's teacher, and vice versa. That parents should also hear from their child's teacher. I have Class Dojo. This is not a plug. I am not being paid by them. Class Dojo is amazing. I love Class Dojo, and my parents, I post on Class Dojo like, I don't know, more than I do Instagram or Facebook or any other kind of social app. My social media app is Class Dojo.
I heard
So,
that.
yes. So that is what I would say.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, audience. Make sure you do something today that is going to give your kids the competitive advantage. Thank you. Thanks again for supporting the Falling for Learning podcast. New episodes go live every Saturday at 5 p.m. You can watch us on youtube.com at Falling for Learning, or listen on all major podcast platforms such as Apple, Google, Audible, Spotify, and much more. For more resources, visit fallinginlovewithlearning.com. We really appreciate you. Have a wonderful week.